Bogdanovic for Terance Mann and Bones Hyland. So this was a weird trade. I was just listening to the Mismatch podcast, and they were talking about it, and they said it didn't make sense to them. They were trying to figure out what the deal was with this trade, and I was glad because I thought the same thing. This is a trade where usually in the NBA, the trades are typically for assets for a star, right? It's sort of win now for win later. You can see which team is going for it and which team is saying we're not going for it, and we're going to collect assets. These are two teams that are in the middle of the pack, aren't they? They're teams that you could make the argument that they're either going to go for it or they're not. They're just sort of existing. I think the Hawks are middle of the East and the Clippers are middle of the West. And they made a trade where both teams are getting something. They're trading players for players. So the Clippers are getting 3 future second-round picks. Second-round picks are, and I've said this before, but they're these cinnamon twists of the trade package world. At Taco Bell, when you get cinnamon twists, because they messed up your order, maybe it took a really long time, they'll throw in some cinnamon twists for free to sort of show you that, hey, yeah, you've been wronged. You wouldn't get these cinnamon twists if we didn't mess up your order. So when you get them, you're like, okay, you've done something. You've acknowledged my inconvenience. You've acknowledged this, and I feel okay. I'm not even going to eat these cinnamon twists. That's what second-round picks are. It's some way where you say, you know, I can't really justify this. I can't really justify this. I don't really care. I need this thing. Throw in some second-round picks for me. Cash considerations can be like that too. Where you're like, yeah, I didn't really get a deal. I didn't really get a good deal on this. Throw in some cash. You're like, okay, you're right. I know you're going to do the trade anyway, so let's throw in some cash. All that to be said, Terance Mann and Bones Hyland for Bogdanovic and 3 future second-round picks is a very even trade. So here's what I think. I think the Clippers said, okay, Bogdanovic not having a great season, not playing very well, but still we want a guy that has experience and can shoot. He's also been injured a lot this season. I believe Terance Mann has as well. Again, Clippers games are blacked out in my area. And Bones Hyland, here's the tricky thing. I think Bones Hyland, from my experience, I've been an NBA fan for a while, pretty well invested. And what I will tell you on multiple different incidences, he's hard to work with. I don't know if he'll even... No, there it is. I put it in my notes. Bones Hyland is waived by the Atlanta Hawks. I think this has to do with the Clippers saying, we want a guy that can shoot. All right, Bogdanovic not having a great season, and we're done with Terance Mann. We want to get out of this Terance Mann business. Because the funny thing is, the Clippers wanted Terance Mann for so long. When during the Harden trade, they would not give up Terance Mann. That was their guy. That was their man. It was so dumb because and this happens all the time in the NBA. I don't want to stay on this side for long, but they'll get a young guy. I think Jonathan Kuminga's that way. I'm starting to see it with Stephon Castle. You're seeing this, like, this player is untouchable. There's some young prospect that a team will say, this guy is untouchable, we're not giving them up. But they're not fully developed. If a team wants that and they're going to give you assets for it, you should have got... I mean, I don't even remember what the Harden trade was for. They got it done, but I'm sure they gave up a lot of assets. I'm sure the Clippers gave up a lot for Harden. I don't remember, but they should have given Terance Mann because Terance Mann wasn't a great player at the time, but they thought he'd be good, and he hasn't been. Now he's in a trade for Bogdanovic. I think Kuminga's the same way, and I think Stephon Castle more than likely is going to be the same way. So it's funny how that all works out. It's like, oh man, we believe this guy is going to be really good. Cut to a year and a half later, he's in a sort of number 10 trade on some dude on YouTube's list. Kind of funny. Don't overvalue your guys. Anyway, I think this is a trade that two teams... I couldn't imagine anyone really spent a whole lot of time on drawing up this trade. And I shouldn't spend a lot of time talking about this slide. Jonas Valanciunas for 2 picks. I think the Kings got him for nothing. Remember, Jonas Valanciunas was like the trade target. The Lakers were talking about picking him up. Every team that needed a backup center or even a center was saying, oh, we're going for Jonas Valanciunas. He had pretty good stats for low minutes that he was getting because they're trying to play Alexander Sarr. They're trying to develop him, and they're not trying to win. So Jonas Valanciunas was the hot boy on the block during, the first, but the last month and a half. All of a sudden, the whole NBA explodes and he's less interesting, and you can get him for 2 second-round picks. I forgot to say my grades for the last one. Bogdanovic, they get a C. The Clippers get a C for getting Bogdanovic, and the Hawks get a B for grabbing Terance Mann and Bones Highland. That's what I think. Because mainly, if you think about it, the Hawks are saying, get rid of Bogdan. He's not on our timeline. He has more years on his contract. We'll take Terance Mann, and he's cheaper than Bogdanovic. We do not want him. He's too expensive. We're going to build around these guys that are younger, and Terance Mann is younger. That is what happened with this trade. They said, we'll take a young Terance Mann. You take an old Bogdanovic, who's more expensive and has a few more years on his contract. We're done with Bogdan. And anyway, Jonas Valanciunas, the Wizards get a D because they only got 2 future second-round picks. And they kept, legend has it, lore has it, word on the street, because I'm on these streets, the Wizards kept Malcolm Brogdon because they wanted a veteran presence in their locker room, and they valued that. Well, then why didn't you keep Valanciunas? You gave him away for 2 second-round picks? D for you, my friends. And then the Kings get Jonas Valanciunas because now they have a backup center. I think they got rid of Alex Len in one of these trades coming up. So now they have a backup center, which is pretty cool. And Jonas Valanciunas and Sabonis are teammates for Team Lithuania. So I gave them an A. I gave the Kings an A. If for any other reason, they added a guy on their team that'll probably be fun to work with. So good for them. I think that's all I got. He'll probably get the same amount of minutes as he got on the Wizards. I'm sure Valanciunas is way happier to be on the Kings. All right, I had to throw this trade in there because this is an embarrassing trade, and I don't say this to make fun of anyone. I don't say this to be mean, but if you're Jusuf Nurkic, to see a trade like this has to suck, and you probably knew it was coming. Because it means no one wanted you. Everyone's like, no, we don't want Jusuf Nurkic. And he's getting paid a lot. I forget what he's getting paid, but he's like a kind of expensive contract. So the only way you're going to get rid of him is if you attach a pick to him. And that's what they had to do. They had to attach a first round pick, an unprotected pick for Jusuf Nurkic. And that sucks. Because all the Suns got back is Cody Martin, Vasilij Micic. Am I saying that right? It's funny now that I'm seeing it on my slide. I'm having a hard time saying it. Anyway, and a second round pick. So I guess Jusuf Nurkic can say, no, they got assets back for me. They got Cody Martin. He's a great player. This was a good trade. No, dude. I don't even know. I don't even know if the Hornets are going to play Jusuf Nurkic. I have no idea. Yeah, it just sucks that you have to actually take damage to get rid of Jusuf Nurkic. Tragic Sun season. I don't know why they didn't just blow it up. I think they still have this idea that they're going to be good and they're going to turn around and they're going to win a championship. Y'all hear about Kevin Durant being upset that he was in trade rumors? Dude, if I was Kevin Durant, I'd be like, oh, thank God. Oh, thank God I didn't have to demand a trade. They're going to do it for me. They're going to put me out of my misery. But maybe for appearances, he has to put on a face and say, man, I don't want to be traded. Anyway, Cody Martin, back on the Suns. I think it was Wosny Lambrey on the group chat podcast, or maybe it was a podcast with Bill Simmons, was saying they got the better Martin brother. No, they didn't. Maybe he was joking. Maybe he was being sarcastic, because Caleb Martin is the better player. Caleb Martin is better than Cody Martin now, even though Cody Martin was the one that was drafted, and Caleb Martin was undrafted. And he was the one that was cut by the Hornets. Caleb Martin has turned it around. You can attribute that to Heat culture. So, but both of them got dealt this trade deadline. let's move on. I don't want to stay on that trade. DeAndre Hunter, this was one, I don't really watch DeAndre Hunter a lot. So if I'm just keeping it real with y'all, my opinion of DeAndre Hunter is purely based off of other people's opinion of DeAndre Hunter. Evidently, but he does have a really good shooting percentage. I did look that up. He does score quite a bit. I think he's getting 19 points a game. He is a scorer. He's a big dude, but he's not much of a rebounder. 3.9 rebounds a game. You'd hope he'd get more as a small forward. 1.5 assists. Kind of a ball stopper for a team like the Cavs. But it could work. What do I know? I don't know much about basketball. But they wanted him. They didn't want to play Dean Wade at that small forward spot anymore. And they wanted to put DeAndre Hunter there. So much so that they're willing to give up Khris LeVert, who's, yeah, I mean, that dude, he was out there doing it. He was a part of that team. And George Niang, a good shooter. So, again, what are the Hawks doing? Are they done? Are they really giving up on this season, saying we're going to wait till Jalen Johnson's healthy, we're going to build it around Reese Shea? There's part of it looks like they just have one foot in the door. Like, maybe we're not going to tank. I don't even know what their pick situation is this year, but they're trying to win right now, and it sort of shows with this trade because they get 3 future second round picks. That's a lot of cinnamon twists, man, and then 2 future pick swaps. That ain't nothing. But the thing is, it's the Cavs. The Cavs are good. Those pick swaps are useless. Absolutely useless, according to my slide. So, that's what I know about this trade. What the Hawks are doing is they're doing that style of... It's a retool. It's, we'll give you better players. You give us back some good players. Some cinnamon twists. And a couple, like a free Diet Coke. Because it's possible that we end up better. It's not likely, but it's possible we end up better after this trade, even though it would appear that you got the better deal and we got future assets. So I said for the Cavs, they get an A-. And why do I give them an A-? It's because it seems pretty well accepted that this is going to make the Cavs better. This is not my opinion. I stole this opinion from other people. So, and a B for the Hawks. Because I can't say the Hawks didn't... I think they did pretty well. You get the cinnamon twist, and I like Khris LeVert, and I like George Niang. Okay. So, here, Mark Williams, Dalton Knecht.
Okay, so the trade didn't happen. But I'm still going to show this video because I want to break down the theoretical trade. Because it's fun analyzing even trades that don't... Theoretical trades. So I'm still going to show the video. But Mark Williams didn't pass his physical. Obviously, all these trades are contracts, and they involve a certain amount of contingencies to come together. A lot when you're buying a house. There's different things. You got to do an inspection. You got to do all this stuff. So he didn't pass, and obviously the Hornets probably were like, all right, fair enough. We're not going to get into arbitration. So Lakers are kind of stuck. They don't have a center. All they have is Jackson Hayes. I believe the other 2 centers they have are on 2-way contracts, so they can't play in the playoffs. I think that's correct. But here's the trade anyway. Just wanted to acknowledge that this trade didn't happen. Dalton Knecht and Cam Reddish awkwardly are still Lakers.
This is a polarizing one, right? I saw Kevin O'Connor say, this is a great win for the Lakers. They get Mark Williams' size and rebounding for Dalton Knecht, just what they needed with Anthony Davis gone. Mark Williams has played 85 games in his career in 3 seasons. Availability is the best ability, typically. Some guys are available and they'll actually lose you games. But general wisdom is the best ability is availability. So he gave up Dalton Knecht, who was having not an incredible season, but he was playing 20 minutes a game as a rookie. I believe it was the 14th overall pick, 9 points a game. He was having a good season, and there was something there. Again, I'm not the type of guy to overvalue a young player, like I said, but they also gave up a unprotected first-round pick in 2031. Okay. Unprotected first-round pick for Mark Williams. I just don't like it. Oh, they gave up Cam Reddish too, if that matters. But at this point, it sucks. But Cam Reddish is sort of an afterthought. He was getting minutes for the Lakers, but I don't know. I think after the 5th time, how many times has this guy been traded? 4 times? is really not worth mentioning, so I'm not going to mention it. But I don't like it. I've also heard, I was listening to, I think it was No Dunks, but they were talking about some stats of Mark Williams, and I think people get horny for his size. Apparently his wingspan is bigger than Wemby's. Again, I heard this one time, and I can't even cite my source. But he's a theoretical good player. Guys get hurt. Guys that get hurt more. That's my opinion. I think there's just an empty. They should have maybe gone for Valanciunas. How about that? If they could have got Valanciunas for 2 second-round picks, that's what they should have done. So I gave the Lakers a D for this. I know this is probably my hottest take so far, but he's not playing right now. Yeah, it's just I don't know. Everyone's really hard for this. So Kuzma for Middleton. Here's all this was. Kuzma for Middleton was a salary dump by the Bucks. I think they had more moves to do. So I think Middleton gets paid $10 million more than Kuzma. And there was, I think AJ Johnson might have been, or yeah, whatever it was. They were thrown in there for the salaries to match. So I think they were trying to get rid of Middleton so they could come under the second apron, allowing them to aggregate contracts. They could do a trade that involved, multiple of their players for one other player, which would have been pretty cool. You can't do that if you're over the second apron. So I think there was another plan that went along with this trade that fell through. But I also think they just didn't want Khris Middleton on their team anymore, who was making too much money and wasn't playing very well. So much so that they took on Kyle Kuzma, a guy making less money but not playing very well. This is one of the worst seasons of Kyle Kuzma's career. And what you're counting on is you're thinking Kuzma has been intentionally sucking and not caring. But now that he's on a team that actually has potential, he's going to turn it on and be good. The thing is, Kuzma has been losing games for a very long time. It has been a long time since Kyle Kuzma was on a winning basketball team. Losing right now is the default for Kyle Kuzma. So you have to keep that in mind. The sting of losing is more just of a, slight itch at this point for Kyle Kuzma. It was a salary dump. That's all this was. The Bucks didn't want Kyle Kuzma. They're happy to take him. He's fine, but they just wanted off the Middleton contract so that they could have more flexibility. That's why. They can use exceptions. They can aggregate contracts. They're also not going to get penalized in the future for being over the second apron too many times. That's the thing that happens. That's my theory on this trade. Poor Khris Middleton. What a time at the Bucks. Coming to an end to go to. It's crazy how many. The Wizards made some crazy moves. They took on a lot of contracts this trade deadline. They were like, hey, we'll take them. You got bad contracts? You got guys you don't want to pay anymore? We'll take them. We'll give you our guys that for some reason people value. So good on you, Wizards. Take on those. Maybe you could actually assemble a good team. Maybe you could assemble a team worthwhile with Khris Middleton and Marcus Smart. I don't know. Try. Maybe those guys feel scorned and they're like, all right, I'm not going to end this season with the worst record in NBA history. I'm going to win some games. That's what I would think. Because that's the bad thing. If you get traded to the Wizards right now and they finish with the worst record in NBA history, now that's associated with you and you're like, hey, I just got here. I spent most of the season on the Bucks. Why am I on this team? Why am I responsible for this? Why is this how I'm remembered? Has to be frustrating, right? So, C- for the Bucks, C for the Wizards. I don't care. Brandon Ingram for Bruce Brown and Kelly Olynyk. Again, I gave this a D for the Raptors' perspective. I think, Brandon Ingram's contract was expiring. Okay? It was expiring, meaning someone could have signed him in free agency. I assume that the Raptors didn't sign him in free agency because they're over the salary cap, and they didn't want to ask the Pelicans for a sign-in trade, so they thought, let's just come up with a deal right now. We can re-sign him in the offseason. From what I understand, it's actually going to be worth a lot of money, and I don't think a team should sign Brandon Ingram for a lot of money, because of the style in which he plays and the frequency at which he gets injured. I don't really know what Masai Ujiri was doing. Let's see what he gave up. So he gave Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, solid dudes. I believe in both those guys. I think both of those guys can provide value for the Pelicans. I think Bruce Brown his contract is expiring, though he's making 21. He's kind of expensive, so he's making 21 million this year. I've heard that he might re-sign with the Pelicans. He might be interested. And then Kelly Olynyk has another year after this one on his contract. So the Pelicans got a 2026 first-round pick from the Pacers and a second-round pick. Giving up the first-round pick from the Pacers, I assume there's no protections on that. For Brandon Ingram, he's not a fine, man. They've been trying to get rid of him for a long time. At least Zach Lavine, he's in the same situation, but he brought his stock up. Not the case with Ingram. Ran out of memory. Sorry. So, yeah, I gave it a D. Pelicans got a C-. They had to get rid of Brandon Ingram, and their season's already cooked, so who the hell cares? Is kind of where I stand with this one. So, yeah, that's it. Brandon Ingram got moved, and I think everyone kind of got excited about this one, like it was one of the big trades. But if you really sort of break down this trade and the value that Brandon Ingram provides now, and him moving to the Raptors, which feels very confusing. Whose team is this? I guess I heard someone say, well, Scotty Barnes has someone to pass it to. He can be more of a facilitator. And when someone said that, I thought, yeah, I guess that's the big thing. We're talking about Raptors and Barnes passing to Brandon Ingram. I actually don't think this is one of the bigger trades. I have it so high up on this list just because it's a big name. So, Pelicans get a C-. Ultimately, I'm basing this on what they got back and what happened in the trade. But the truth is there was no market for Brandon Ingram. So them getting back a first-round pick for him and a couple guys that are proven NBA players and have... Has Olynyk won a championship? Did he win a championship with anyone? No, he made the finals with the Heat. That was it. So maybe I should make it higher for the Pelicans. I think the Pelicans, given the situation, given the bad blood between Brandon Ingram and the Pelicans that had gone on so long, and just getting him out of the locker room, I think they did all right. So, next one is Jimmy Butler. That was actually the feelings that I heard someone say about Jimmy Butler going to the Warriors. I don't care. This is a blockbuster trade. This is big. Jimmy Butler wearing a Golden State Warriors jersey is weird. Again, I'm recording this on Saturday night. Right now, I got the Dallas Mavericks game up. There's 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Just to timestamp this, I have not seen Jimmy Butler in a Warriors uniform yet. It's crazy. It's exciting. This is a blockbuster trade, and this is worth talking about. So, I did a live on this channel, so I've already sort of expressed my opinion on this. The Warriors gave Jimmy the money. And what they did was good. They gave him a lot of money for a short period of time. They said, oh, drop your player option, we'll give you 2 years. 2 years at, I think I don't know what all the stipulations are, but let's call it $120 million over 2 years. That's as much as Steph. That's big money. That's like superstar level money. But it's only for 2 years. I get it. It was a gesture. And basically what they did is they said, we're going to trade for you is $120 million 2 years. And at the end of the 2 years, we'll talk about it. Will you not make a stink? Will you play hard basketball for us if we give you that? And Jimmy's like, yeah. I wanted a third year, and I wanted more money, to be honest. I wanted a max, but I'll do it. Because I need out of this. I need out of the Heat. So the Warriors decided to trade for him, and the Heat took the best deal available, and they did all right. I give them a B+. They got Andrew Wiggins. Okay. Who cares? The Heat aren't winning this year. They know that. They have a solid team, but they're going to say, yeah, we'll take on Andrew Wiggins, who has 2 more years left on his contract. He's on a team-friendly deal. 26 to 30 million. So this year he's making 26. In 2 years he's making 30 million. Who cares? Andrew Wiggins, good. He's good enough for that kind of money. We'll take it. So I don't hate it. And Davion Mitchell ends up coming over from, I think it's from the Raptors. I don't know why I put Kings. Like Davion Mitchell is still at the Kings. I think I meant Raptors. Anyway, there were more teams involved in this trade, but it was only to facilitate the trade. Basically, sometimes a team gets assets and things get shuffled around just because the trade can't happen given salary cap stipulations or certain rules that are in the CBA. But it doesn't really matter for this trade because those details are just unimportant. They were only done because this deal wanted to get done. So they gave other teams cinnamon twists to say, hey, we'll give you some cinnamon twists. Do you mind just taking on the salary for us? Like, sure. Sure, I don't mind a cinnamon twist every once in a while. So I think the Warriors kind of lose on this because they take Jimmy Butler. It's a short-term deal, but they're just giving him too much money. And unless I'm wrong, unless playoff Jimmy shows up all of a sudden just because he wants to play, I don't know. I just don't see that happening. I don't think it's worth it, but it's at least a very sweet gesture to Warriors fans and Steph Curry to say, look, we did something. We really took a big swing. But again, I don't know. Maybe you could have got something else better if you were willing to give up on Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody or Brandon Podziemski. Those are guys where they're like, no, that's the future of our team. Well, maybe put the dice back in the Yahtzee Cup. Get some picks back, throw those guys out. I don't know. That's my thought. So, am I done with this? Oh, they lost Kyle Anderson too, to the Heat. But he's been injured, and I don't know if he was really providing a whole lot of value. Anyway. And the Heat get a protected first-round pick. I don't think the protections have been released yet. I don't think we know how protected this pick is, and if it ends up getting protected, what happens. So I'm not sure. Anyway, I gave the Heat a B+, because really they were on a landmine, right? They had to defuse a bomb, and they were able to defuse it with a pretty decent return. So because had Jimmy not been traded before the deadline, it would have just been rough days at work for anyone that worked at that Heat organization. That's my opinion. So De'Aaron Fox, Zach Lavine, this is the number 2 trade, right? I think this is a lot of teams involved in this. So San Antonio got De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin. I gave them an A-. Jordan McLaughlin's a solid player. I'm kidding. De'Aaron Fox, he's good. He's good and he wanted to go there. He plays a lot. Here's the thing about De'Aaron Fox. I think he's pretty good at assisting, and I think for the last 5 years he's scored over 25 points a game. That's nothing to shake a stick at. That's when his contract is up. Spurs are going to pay him, and I think it's a good idea. And I think he can be on Wemby's timeline as well. Get a good point guard in there with Wemby. It's smart. Get some lobs going. I like it a lot. So I gave them an A-. Perhaps there's a better player to play with Wemby, but Fox is definitely one of the best players to play with Wemby. So I gave it an A-. And then as for the Kings, who get Zach Lavine, and I think Sidi Sissoko, he's been now passed. He's on this slide again. He got passed to the Kings, and then I think the Kings ended up trading him somewhere else who inevitably waived him as well. So he just sort of got passed around, like I said, to make the deal work. So what did the Kings get? They got a first-round pick from the Hornets, but again, I think that pick turns into 2 second-round picks. It will turn into 2 second-round picks because it was so protected, and the Hornets aren't going to be bad, so it will be protected. Then a first-round pick. The Spurs had to give up one of their first-round picks, and then a first-round pick from the Timberwolves. Those are both unprotected, and 3 second-round picks. It's a lot of cinnamon twists. I'm going to stop calling them cinnamon twists because I feel like I've said it for the last time, and now it's getting annoying. Yeah, I love this for the Kings. I gave them a B. I don't know why I gave them a B. Because they also got Zach Lavine. I also like that. Again, I think you can make the argument that Zach Lavine has... Someone could... No, I'm not going to make the argument, but someone could make the argument that Zach Lavine and De'Aaron Fox provide the same amount of value. Someone could. So that's my point. If someone could make the argument, you got to say that the Kings really did well on this deal, given their situation, because Fox did want out. Fox was not re-signing with them, and he gave them fair warning, so they had to do what they were going to do, and I think they did really well, all things considered. I only gave the Bulls a C, because the Bulls were in this deal. They took on Zach Collins' contract, which is pretty big. It's kind of an expensive contract. Shea Jones, Kevin Huerter. I don't know if Kevin Huerter is going to be getting a lot of minutes for the Bulls. The Bulls are giving up on their season. They had to get rid of Zach Lavine. So everyone's really disappointed with what the Bulls got out of this trade, which is only their pick back in 2025. So everyone said, man, the Bulls really didn't get anything from this trade. It's like, well, yeah, they didn't have anything. Yeah, they didn't get much back, but they didn't have anything to trade. They were in this, in all things considered, they get off of Zach Lavine's contract, which was really expensive, and had a few more years on it. And they're not going to win any more games. They're trying to tank. They're trying to get good again. They're trying to be bad. And having Zach Lavine on your team, drilling threes is not good for that. So anything that they might get back for Zach Lavine is gravy. It's house money. So they get a C. Yeah, it's not awesome, but it wasn't going to be. Zach Lavine, for a long time, his contract was an albatross. People were talking to having to attach picks to that, like they did Jusuf Nurkic. Anyway. All right, so this is the big deal. This is the big trade. Again, I've got it looks like the Mavs are going to win. We got 4 minutes and 45 seconds left. Mavs are up 7. So Anthony Davis is now a Dallas Maverick, which I do love. He's embracing it. He's enjoying being a Maverick. And I saw some kids that went to the game, they painted unibrows on their faces. I love it. I think Dallas is, I think they're kind of moving past the grief phase. And they're saying, whatever, it's just sports. It's just sports. Anthony Davis is here. And actually, I remember Anthony Davis being a pretty damn good player. Wasn't he second team All-NBA last year? Wasn't he first team All-Defense? Wasn't he an All-Star this year? All right, well, if he's, we lost the future of our team, but Anthony Davis is good. I kind of forgot that Anthony Davis was good. So he's here. He was killing it at halftime. I don't know what he's got right now, but he was at 24 points at halftime, and I believe he had 10 rebounds already. He might have had 13. I'm seeing it right now. It was like 10. I think it was 10 defensive, 13 rebounds total at halftime, which is pretty insane. You got to want a guy that wants to come out and be a winner. Credit for coming out and being a winner and wanting to be good for his new team. If I were AD, I would be kind of relieved to be out of the whole LeBron Laker drama baggage business and my name always floating around in trade rumors. I can go to this team that just wants me to be a good soldier and win games. Now, here's the Luka part of it. Luka, this is my theory. I don't know if this is true. Luka had to be difficult to control. He had to be an unruly child. Luka Doncic does not seem like a mean, toxic person. He doesn't seem like he has a bad attitude. He doesn't seem angry. He seems like a very loving, carefree guy that just likes to play basketball and do what he wants to do and have a lot of natural talent. But I don't think you can tell Luka what time to go to bed. I don't think you can tell Luka what time to make his bed. I think Jason Kidd likes to have his soldiers making their bed at the right time and going to bed and getting a good night's rest and not drinking too much beer. I think Nico Harrison feels the same way. I think Michael Finley clearly feels the same way. Remember when he took Luka's beer? There was something there. You don't take a grown man's beer. I would be so upset if I led my team to the finals and I'm trying to enjoy my beer. I'm standing there with my dad and then a superior to me comes by and takes my beer out of my hand. I would say, I think I earned a beer right now, man. I think I earned this. I think you should pick your battles and give me my beer back. Okay? I think if you took a step back, you'd realize it doesn't matter. I should be able to drink a beer. I should be able to smoke a cigarette. If I want to. Alright? You're welcome. Dallas Mavericks want good soldiers. I think Nico Harrison, I think they lost control. I think all the people in management, all the people in coaching, Luka was the best player on their team, and they were tired of having to just adhere to his will. Because what are they going to do? What are they going to say? What are they going to not play him? I think they all felt like pussies. Because he did whatever he wanted. And that undermined him and the whole team. No one had any leadership because at the end of the day, you can't say, okay, I can tell everyone what to do except for that guy because he's good. I think they all said, I don't like working here anymore. I don't like being here. I don't feel heard. I feel like I'm just managing this guy and he happens to be good. So much so that I don't even really care about the team success we had because I feel out of control of my life. Also, I don't even want to make a big stink about trading him. I don't want anything to leak that we're even thinking about trading him just because I don't want to deal with his bullshit. And I don't want to deal with it. I'm going to call one team. I'm going to get a decent offer back. I'm going to call my buddy Rob Pelinka and see what he has to offer. AD seems like a good guy. A guy that's going to take direction. By all accounts of everyone on our team, they like him and it's going to work here. I'm going to take a lot of flack, but I don't care. I'm going to come into work tomorrow and not feel controlled by this Slovenian. This is my theory. That's my theory. That's the only theory that makes sense to me. If you ever watch The Twilight Zone, there's an episode where this little boy can wish people into the cornfield. He basically can wish anything he wants. He can turn people into a jack-in-the-box. He can do anything. And everyone around him is very nice to him and very polite and very kind. They give him everything he wants for his birthday. They don't argue with him. And he is just a miserable kid to be around. And they treat him nicely because they don't want to be wished into the cornfield. And multiple times throughout the episode, somebody does something, steps on the wrong eggshell, and they get wished into the cornfield. And it shows you the misery of existence, having to kowtow around someone else's desires and losing your entire freedom and agency as a human being because you need to please someone. I think the Mavs organization wanted out of that situation so bad that the fan reaction didn't matter. I think honestly they probably thought the fan reaction would be even worse than it currently is. So that's what I think, because Luka is going to be one of the best players of all time, and to trade him for a good play, just not enough. Something was up, man. Something was up. This was dire. So. All right, that's my take. Thanks for being here. Be good to your mothers. Eat a corn dog.